For those of you who know me, know that I absolutely love travel. It's one of the perks of my job. I get to travel a lot and I'm on an airplane quite often, but even with traveling all that much, I still love watching travel programming. So, since we are all stuck inside right now, flatten the curve, everybody stay in, I put together a list of my favorite travel shows that I literally have seen every single episode in these series too. So I thought I'd share with you guys today. First up is like my all-time favorite travel show. It's
Expedition Unknown
with Josh Gates. So if you haven't heard of it before, Josh is an archaeologist who literally goes all over the world and explores legends and mysteries, and he does it in these really remote, exotic locations. So you're watching him do things that most of us will never have the opportunity to do. And things like, you know, crawling in the bottom of a cave with a hole that's literally like 3 feet wide that I would never actually want to do. So it's a lot of fun, and it's a way to kind of get out of the house without actually being out of the house. So I think he's on season like 7 now, and I actually have seen every single one of these. So I absolutely do recommend watching that if you've got the travel bug going. Second up, if you are a foodie, this show is absolutely for you. It's called Chef's Table, and this is on Netflix. Oh, by the way, Destination Unknown is streaming on the Discovery Channel, and you can download the app if you have Apple TV. And I think you can download it on your phone too. So, and if you don't have Discovery and you just want to buy a season, you can buy it on Prime. So, next up, Chef's Table. This is an Emmy-nominated series that literally follows some of the most renowned chefs all over the globe, chefs who have been in restaurants or own restaurants that have literally made like the top 50 restaurants around the globe. It's that list, and you get to take a deep dive into the stories of their own personal lives and their own personal journeys. And of course, it's shot in the most beautiful way possible, and you get to see kind of how they develop their most popular dishes. And it's actually a really unique insight into that high-end food world, and that world of cuisine that most of us don't really get a peek into. So it's fascinating, it's beautifully shot. Some of the stories are actually really moving, and they're really inspiring. They're about overcoming a lot of adversity, so I would check that out, especially given with what's going on in the world today. If you need a little inspiration, check that series out. Next up, I don't know if this is inspiring, but I have so much fun watching it. It's called Gordon Ramsay's Uncharted, and it's currently on National Geographic. It is so much fun because, he's just so irreverent all the time. Like, it's just Gordon Ramsay, and there's something so charming about him. And in his new series, he actually goes around the world and he learns about different global cuisines, and he spends a week literally trekking through jungles or, going through island terrain to find these native ingredients that he's never cooked with before. And then in the end of each episode, he actually has to cook for like a native tribe or a local community group that is really knowledgeable in that local cuisine. So he has to kind of like pass the test. And it's a really fun series. Next up, we have Tales by Light. Now, this is a photographer's dream. It's an Australian docuseries on Netflix that follows photographers and videographers and basically shows the process of what it takes to get some of these like world-renowned photos that you see published in like Nat Geo and these just beautiful pieces of photography. And you actually get to watch the thought process behind why they took the photo the way they did, and all the technology it took to capture these things, and even the travel that it took just to get to some of these really remote locations, where they had to adventure to take these photos that you don't even think of when you see a photo. So again, it is aesthetically like one of the prettiest travel series you will ever watch. It is stunning. It's all about photography, so of course it is, but I think there's 2 seasons, maybe 2 or 3 seasons, and I've watched them multiple times because they're just that pretty. Next up is Samantha Brown's Places to Love. So I watched Samantha Brown when she used to be on the Travel Channel. She was one of my favorite people to watch, and she now has her own show on PBS, and it's all about like seeking little known spots and those gems that you find in cities all across the globe, kind of the off the beaten path, if you will. And she actually has an episode about Dallas, so go check it out. You may actually learn something about our beautiful city that you didn't know. Next up, this one's actually a really fun one. It's called Breakfast, Lunch, and Dinner on Netflix. It's hosted by David Chang, who is a really famous chef. He started Momofuku, and he also is one of the co-creators for Milk. If you guys have ever heard of that, like, I don't know if it's like a dessert bakery shop out of New York. I guess that's what it would be classified as, but they're the ones who started like the milk ice cream and the milk flavored cookies and things like that. So he actually takes celebrity guests all over the globe and explores local cuisine with them and kind of interviews them along the way. So he did one with Chrissy Teigen, like he's got Kate McKinnon. There's a lot of really fun people that he takes around the globe with him. It's just a good time. Next up, this is for all the people who love home improvement and also love travel. It's kind of like the best of both worlds. So it's called Restaurants on the Edge. Now there's a chef, a restaurateur, and a designer that all go out to these restaurants that, and it's called Restaurants on the Edge because these are restaurants that have like the most, on the edges of the world, that have the most beautiful views and overlook the most surreal scenery, but are actually struggling, you know, and their whole bit is oftentimes when you go to a restaurant and it has a beautiful view, the food sucks, right? And so they go in, they flip these restaurants, they basically change these people's lives who have been really struggling to get their dreams and their passions up and running with these restaurants, and they help them create a beautiful space with delicious local cuisine. So it's really fun to watch. The next series is, of course, can't leave this one out, Anthony Bourdain, Parts Unknown. I love me some Anthony Bourdain, and I'm so sad he's no longer here because this was one of my favorite shows to watch. You know, if you are into politics, watch his later seasons. If you are into just like travel and food, watch the earlier seasons. It gets a little bit darker as the seasons progress, but still, you know, he was such a quick-witted guy. He was very smart. He was very kind of on the edge. And so it just gives you the opportunity to look at some of these locations around the globe without the kind of rose-colored lens that we often see in travel shows. It's a bit of a grittier view of what's happening politically, ecologically, and how that's reflected in the cuisine that he goes and like tries on all these locations. Next up, kind of keeping with the dark theme here, I guess, is Dark Tourist. Now this one is a little bit of a lesser known on Netflix, but it is really interesting. It's not usually my cup of tea, but I found it to be absolutely fascinating. So the series literally, there's a thing, and I didn't know about this until I watched the show. There's an industry called dark tourism, which was mind-blowing to me. People all over the globe seek out experiences that focus on the occult, the dark. Like he goes to places like Chernobyl and like places that have radiation exposure that they're like, hey, you can't stay in this location for more than a couple minutes. And I would never do that. Like, to me, that doesn't make any sense. But apparently there's a whole population out there that finds that fascinating and actually spends money to go put themselves in that kind of situation. So it's an interesting watch. It's a fascinating watch. Next up, now this one is so much lighter and it's for all the kiddos out there who love travel. All the kiddos who love travel. It's Carmen Sandiego on Netflix. And yes, it is an animated series, but it is about mystery, and she kind of, you know, she's rescuing artifacts from this group that's trying to steal them. But they talk about travel. They talk about all the locations all over the globe. So there's a lot of fun facts and information in each episode. Lastly, we've got Bizarre Foods with Andrew Zimmern on the Travel Channel and on Hulu. I love Andrew Zimmern. I don't know what it is about him. He's this really fun guy who has a fascinating backstory. He actually used to be homeless on the streets of New York and completely turned his life around, and now is a world-renowned TV personality and chef, and he travels the globe eating things that you and I probably will never eat. And it's just fun, it's fascinating. He's got a couple different series, you know, he's got Bizarre Foods, he's got one that specifically focuses on cities here in America. There's a lot of content there to watch. So if you are looking for something that is outside of, you know, the four walls of your house or whatever it is, if you're looking to have a little adventure while we're stuck inside, these shows are the best shows out there to watch to do that. And I hope you enjoy them. And please message me. Like, if you've watched one of them and you really like it, or you don't like it, or you have anything to say about it, please message me, because as you can tell, I love travel and I love TV and movies. So this is kind of the best of both worlds for me. I hope you enjoy, and I will see you guys soon over at The Real Dallas.